Hello everyone, this is Joseph Popati, and today in this video I'm going to cover the new rules that I created for Mystery Rummy Escape from Alcatraz. These are new solo rules, or a solo variation for the card game, and it uses a lot of the mechanics and gameplay of the original game, but there are a lot of tweaks being that it's a solo variation. One of the things that I have added is D4, that's a randomizer. And the concept of the game is there are like four. In essence, you're trying to play four and mixing it in, but the overview of the game is you're the warden of Alcatraz, and you've brought 4 guards together and told them, hey, we've heard some information that there's 4 escape plans that need to be thwarted, and they could be from escapees that are working in these specific locations. The locations are laundry, library, cafeteria, and metal shop. So those that have played the original game, there was solitaire, and that was where the discard pile was. So now in this game there are 4 locations instead of solitaire, and those will have the discard stacks. You still have a cell block deck, action deck, but there's also a new feature in here to kind of help simulate with the other players. There's an area called plan in process, and there's cards that will go in there and that will make groups, and it's kind of as if you had play areas, other players. And when an action card talks about taking a card from a player, you go to that plan in process area. So some other things that have changed are the yard is still there. There are 4 randomized escapees that will be in the yard, but you no longer add escapees to the yard. The way escapees work later, when you find them, they can help you get cards. Basically, you are coercing those escapees to help you with information. And the way they are played is when you find an escapee from an action card, you get to put it in your hand, and later, after you've played an action card, you can play those escapees to help you pull cards from the discard piles. You have a generic and you have an infamous escapee. So generics can help you take 1, infamous can help you take 2, and those kind of are the nice things about escapees. They help you build up your deck by pulling cards specifically out of discard, the ones that would take time to get to. Again, you have 4 escapees, 4 plans that you're trying to thwart. Now, the other thing with the solo is the cell block deck, that's your timer deck. So to win the game, this is not a high score game, this is a win or lose. So to win, you have to thwart all 4 plans, escapee plans, before your cell block deck runs out. So this becomes the timer in the game, and it is a win or lose. If you don't thwart those plans before the timer deck runs out, you lose the game. If you can get it done before that timer deck runs out, then you win. So this is important of how often you're taking cards from this, and how often the action cards take cards from the cell block deck. There are also some changes to the action cards. Some highlighted notes are, I've taken 2 cards out. These are cards that you will remove from the game. One is the change in plan, and the other is guard help. This one makes the game imbalanced because instead of where the solo rules, you need 9 or more plan cards to thwart a plan. This would drop it down to 5, which would just make it too easy to thwart a plan. So that's removed. And then this one, place this card in an active plan area. There's not really an active plan area. So this is really for when you actually have players. So change plan is removed. So those 2 cards are removed from the action deck. And some other cards are, and one of the main actions that have changed is in the beginning of the game, per turn, you are either asked to draw 2 cards from the cell block deck or draw 1 from the solitaire stack. Well, since we have 4 different locations that act as the solitaire, and this is a timer, you now can either draw 2 from the cell block deck or 1 from the cell block deck and 1 from the stack. So those are your 2 options now. It's not 2 and 1, it's now 2 and 2, but one of those could be from discard pile. Other actions are, you might have one that says draw 2 from the cell block and then 1 from a stack. Well, it acts as the same way. You can either draw 2 from the cell block deck or 1 from the cell block and 1 from a stack. Some other things, if you're asked to draw 3 cards from the cell block, and then when you distribute them, if it says discard, you're going to be randomly doing it, and that's when this die comes in. You're randomly putting them into those 4 stacks. So those are how the discard works. Also, if you get an escapee, you get to put it in your hand, but you also have to draw a replacement for that card. And I'll show you those as I do some rules and play. But this video today is about setting up the game and going over the rules. So let's go ahead. To prep to set up the game, you want to take out all 7 of the infamous escapees, because you're going to randomize these to get your 4 escapees. So we'll go ahead and let's go through the setup process. Okay, here we are back again. We're going to do the setup, and again, this is the solo variation for Mystery Rummy Escape from Alcatraz, the card game. In this section of the video, this will be the setup of that solo variation. So you want to take your 7 infamous escapees, go ahead and shuffle them up, and then just get 4 of them. And then what I like to do with these, just kind of separate them in, since there's only 3 of them. And I've already shuffled that. And we take these out, and we'll go ahead and put them up in the yard area up here. These are your, let's get them right there. These are the escapees and their plans that you have to thwart. So this area is the yard. You will not be adding more escapees to this. These are the 4 you have to deal with, and that's it. The next you want to deal with is you have your 4 locations. So we have library, laundry, cafeteria, and metal shop. So we want to have spaces on the right of each of these cards for the location discard piles. Then just take 4, okay? And this makes up the plan in process area. Again, this is that area where you act as if they are players in the game, and this is when it asks to take cards from players. So you do it from here. And these get grouped. So whenever you have another color in here, like these 2 browns, if there's 3 in here, and remember when a card says take a planned card from a group of another player, you look in here, if there's nothing that's 3, then you can't take a card. So that it's just a waste action. If there are 4 in here, they immediately get pulled out and get distributed 1 per discard. So that kind of helps these get shuffled back in and out of the discard piles. Escapees can be put in here because they're color based. So if you had 3 or 4 of the gray for the generics, they'll act the same way. They'll get distributed. But that's our plan and process area. Then we have our discard areas. These are our discard stacks for the 4 locations, and they're going to have 10 each. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right, so we'll just put those out. Again, these are our discard stacks. And then for yourself, you deal 10 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, 10. So this now is your cell block deck. We have our action deck and our 10 cards. Okay, and we have our D4. So The setup, this is the initial setup for Mystery Rummy Escape from Alcatraz solo variation. You have, and I'll do this real quick, here's your cell block deck, here is the yard that has your 4 escapees, here's your plan and process area that acts kind of as, you know, your other players. You have your 4 prison locations, which are the 4 plans that you have to foil. These are the discard stacks of each one of these. Again, library, laundry, cafeteria, and metal shop. Here's our action deck. And then we have our 10 cards for our hand. Again, the D4 that you need, this is strictly in the 2 process. One is for when you have to put a card, because that's one of the new tasks or actions is there's a plan and process phase where you will discard a card, take a card from one of the discards top and place it into the plan process. You'll roll. And everything is 1, 2, 3, 4. So whenever you roll a die, if it shows a 2, you'll take it off here, put it in here, and then group colors. The other part is your discard. Now, one of the different rules in this, based on Mystery Rummy Escape from Alcatraz, the round would end when you don't have any more discards. That's not in this game. So you have a discard phase, and when you discard, you will roll the die, and then you will see the number. Let's say I roll and it's 2. I will discard and I will put it under this 2 stack on the bottom. One of the things though is if I don't have any cards in my hand, now I have to play from my play area. So you have to be careful. You want to try and have those burner cards in your hand so you're not taken away from your plan area. That's one of the bad things. So keep in mind what you have in your hand and what you're discarding, what you're playing, because it can affect what you have to discard. So this is the setup, and those are the areas. Next section of the video, I'm going to cover the rules. Okay? Okay, Joe Perpetta here again. We're covering the rules for the solo variation to Mystery Rummy's Escape from Alcatraz. Now, normal Mystery Rummy Escape from Alcatraz has a sequence, turn sequence. Everything's based on turns. You have so many tasks or actions in a turn, and then it would go to the next player. Well, as a solo, it's you every single turn. And then we talk about each one of those tasks or turn sequences. So in the first one, you must either draw 2 from the cell block, or draw 1 from the cell block and 1 from the top card of a discard location stack. Okay? So, first phase of the turn is 2 from the cell block, or 1 from the cell block and 1 from the stack. Next is you can play. Now, play is you can either do your plan or you can meld into a plan. So if you have 3 or more, just like in the rules, you can set a plan. Now you can only set 1 plan per turn, but you can meld or merge plans into existing ones, as many as you got. So if you have a group of 3 or more, you can play it down as a plan, but that's all you can do for that turn. If you end up playing a plan or melding into a plan, you'll take an action. Same thing. So that action takes effect. The rules will show some of the changes in some of the action cards. Take a look at that. One of the big ones, like if you have the Warden card. Warden is an and or. So not an and or, but you have this one or you can do this one. Now, in the Warden card it says you have to discard an escapee card. If you don't have that card in your hand, you have to do the second phase or the second set of requests or part of the card to do. And that's like you have to take one of your plans and distribute it throughout all the discard location, which means if you had 5, you'd be randomly putting them or just going 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. You just basically distributing them out. Or you can do it randomly. It's totally up to you. So again, look at those, look at the rules and look at how the action cards have changed. But there are some differences just in the wording, because again, there is no solitaire stack. There are 4 location stacks, and this is what it would say, which means if it said draw a card, you can draw a card from this stack, just remember, you can take it from any of these. So we have that action phase. Now, right after the action phase, if you have an escapee in your hand, that's the only time you can use an escapee, either the generic or infamous. So if you haven't played an action, you can't play an escapee. And you can only play one escapee card per turn. And the way that would work is, if you played a generic, you could say, let's say I'm looking for blues. I'm going to use my generic, put it in the foil, and take one of these and put it in my hand. If I had an infamous escapee, I could play it on one of these discard piles and take two anywhere. Take any of these two and put them in my hand, and then you'd put the escapee on the plan. But remember, one escapee per turn, and you can only do it if you have played an action card. And then after that, the new phase is discard into the plan and play area. So what that would do is you would roll your die. One, you would take this top card, place it in here, group them in colors, and that would be the plan and process phase. Then, of course, the last one is the discard, which means you would roll the die, take a card from your hand, place it at the bottom of whatever you rolled. So if I roll a 4, I will put it at the bottom of this 4th location stack. If I don't have a card in my hand, I must take a card from my play area. Okay? Don't look at the rules, the original rules of it ends around. No. You can, even if you don't have cards here or you have cards in your hand, then it's just no discard. So just be aware. You have to discard a card from your hand. If you run out, you must take one from your plan area. And that's the turn sequence. It's those actions, and you just repeat those over and over and over until you either thwart 4 escapee plans or you run out of the cell block deck. Now again, to win the game, you have to have the 4 plans, but it has to have 9 or more. It's not 8, it's 9 or more. Now you can play with that as a difficulty level or balancing level for the game. You can change it to 10, you can lower it to 8, totally up to you. But as a base, I set it to 9, and if you want it harder, you make it 10, 11, even all 12 if you want. I don't think you'll get it because I think you're going to run out of the deck first. But you can do 8. Now I've tested different ones. 8, I was winning a lot with the 8, so I wanted to raise it to 9. I wanted to get it to like a 30 or 40% win, even 25. It depends. But that's your win conditions. You have to have 4 of these escape groups. They have to match those escapees, and it has to be 9 or more. And then what happens is, if you have one, let's say I get my 9 blues, I will take those, take this, and just put it under one of the foil cards. Each one of these will go under, because you foiled the plan that was happening in the laundry. You planned the library, then the laundry, and then cafeteria, and then finally the metal shop. And then you win the game. And that's basically the turn sequence. Just keep going through that process. Again, you can play 1 plan group per turn, but you can meld multiple colors as long as you have them and you have these plan groups. You must have 3 or more, just like in the rules, to play. And I think that's it. As these get removed, again, you do not add more cards to the yard. The plan process area, remember to keep these color-based. If a card asks you to take a card from a player area, like an action, you can only take one if there are 3, as in a group. If there's 2 or less, then you don't get to take anything. And then once this becomes 4, you will immediately take it and put 1 in each discard pile. I think that's it. What I'll do is on the next video, I will go through and do a playthrough video. But if you have any questions on the rules, if something isn't clear, go ahead and put your comments in down below. If you have any suggestions or you see things that would make the game better, or if you played it and found things that would make it better, please, again, put them in the comment section. But this is my solo variation for the game Mystery Rummy Escape from Alcatraz, the card game. Thanks for watching, and hope to see you on the next video for the playthrough.